Dear students, Assalamu alaikum. In today's lecture, we are going to discuss about the main topic, that's the interactions of the earth spheres. So, in our today's lecture discussion includes the interaction between spheres of the earth, and that's based on the introduction and background basis. The next is how the earth spheres interact, and I'll simplify by the simple example around us in our environment, and that can be easily elaborated and you will understand it. Up next will be the lithosphere and the geosphere based interactions. Half this sphere, like we know that there are four major spheres of that very global system or global ecosystem. Lithosphere, the solid part, these interactions. Up next the water based interaction or the hydrosphere based interaction. Up next the atmospheric based interactions and the biosphere based interactions. Firstly, we will go towards the interaction between the spheres of the earth. How the interactions of the sphere mean of these interaction that are these four spheres interactions, and how to categories are what are their test what are their basis. And next the earth spheres interaction on the basis of examples from the uh, outside environment. We will identify on the basis of the phenomena processes that are occurring in our environment. And then towards the lithosphere or geosphere based interaction, what's the part or what's the major role of the lithosphere in the interactions with the other spheres, and our other one sphere or the whole all spheres. The hydrosphere based interactions probably or obviously the water area that's covering the earth's surface, that interaction with the other spheres. And the very important one, last two ones, atmosphere and biosphere. Atmospheric based interactions, that's on the basis of the climatology and the other energy cycles. In the hydrosphere is the water based interaction. Then the lithosphere, if we go to the, it also contains the rock cycle, that rocky part of the soil and other minerals form. The most important one can be the biosphere, that in the basis of importance we can place it above all these spheres. But the biosphere based interactions are mostly the important one, because these are affected from all the spheres, and at mostly in one way or other it has effects on all these spheres. So we will elaborate up next in one and one by topic and one and one slide how these interactions are affecting in the other spheres and have the processing self own sphere. The interaction between earth sphere as a global system. If we take the very earth as a system and a global system, like if we take the system, if we know this what the system means. Actually the system means the components of a whole. If it is being from many whole, simply if we go to the surface of the geosphere, that's the rocky part that of the planet is in contact with all the spheres. If we are living here in the geosphere or that rocky part, we can see that this rocky part is in contact with the water, air, and our life. This means that these three parts or these three spheres are in contact with each other and are at the same time with the all spheres. Generally, our the spheres interact and affect each other. These occurs in our sense, like we are living on that with geosphere, with we are on the soils, these minerals, that's the rocky part of the lithosphere. In that very geosphere we are residing, the living plants are residing, living animals, and we are residing. So in that very part, these three spheres, these all spheres, including us, the fourth sphere of biosphere, these are interacting with each other. Actually the and basically the processes that move or transfer matter energy. That's the part. Matter energy are the basis for the spheres interactions. The basis for these transfer cycling between these spheres and dynamics is actually on the basis of the matter energy. So all the cycling in these very global sphere or the global system is on the basis of matter energy. So what these spheres will discuss now, we will know, we can easily understand and from these processes that the basis is from the matter energy. So these spheres interactions can be considered on the basis of matter energy, and that's dynamics or all of the spheres can be considered as the spheres interactions and are the sphere processes on each other. Like here we see I have drawn you the water cycle or the energy cycle. Energy cycle, here we will elaborate in the next coming part of that atmospheric section, that in this part the sun is playing its role in the energy provision, and the water cycle here is in the atmosphere playing its role for the equation and the regulation of that temperature. The general circulation that's occurring, the climatology of that very global systems, and the change that occurs, that dynamics is only and solely because of the matter energy interaction, and that dynamics between and among that all spheres, either it's among the two spheres or at the same time in one way or other it's amongst the other spheres, that's on the basis of matter and energy. So let's move towards the spheres uh, classification, or they are examples from our surrounding how these spheres are interacting with each other in one way or other, or either they are interacting between each other and among. How the earth spheres interact, like examples, here we start from our very image, the biosphere, because we comprise the biospheres, we and the plants around us, we the humans, biospheres build a dam, like we go for infrastructures and build a dam for water storage, which I also shown in the atmosphere section upcoming next. Then this if we go for the basis of this material that comes from the very geosphere, because we know we take clay, minerals or other kind of rocky parts from that geosphere. At the same time, if we only exemplify this one line, we can understand that if that by two spheres are interacting with each other, how we are taking the water from that dam, but in the same time if we are building that dam, that's from the geosphere, and we are biosphere, and we need for the plants from plants from plants watering and other purposes. So that's the only one aspect that the two spheres are interacting. But at the other, if we go for the next phase, at the same time if we are watering the plants, that's also the biosphere, and the draw water, that's the earthsphere, and nutrients from the soil, again that's the geosphere. It release its vapors, that will be the atmosphere itself, and in surrounding that is our atmosphere. At that part, if you see, the four sphere itself are interacting with each other and are in process of dynamics. Up next, if we elaborate it more, then the humans use farm machines that come from the geosphere to plow the fields and other activities that I have mentioned before. And atmosphere brings precipitation, mostly that's in the farm atmosphere to water the plants. In that farm, the three very basic farm spheres are also interacting with each other: the biosphere, atmosphere, and the hydrosphere. The geosphere itself is the deciding part, that's the part like a habitat for that three spheres. That's why we have studied before, we have mentioned before, we know that these three spheres, other spheres, are interacting on that very geosphere and that very solid part of the planet, or the global earth system, or this is global system of these earth. Energy from the sun then is stored in plants, and that's in the organic form. If we take that the form of chlorophyll, if we take these as the food, or the animals eat them, like the are biospheres, we actually require energy. That's elaborating the other point which I have mentioned, that's about the energy and matter recycling and basis, how these are in the dynamic. Like I have mentioned that the energy and matter basis interactions or dynamics are the basis for that spheres interaction of the earth or the global earth system. How humans, like we human, use this energy for other kind of activities, in that way geosphere and biosphere, to live our life, to maintain our life and other kind of activities. So simply here, if we see the four spheres in process in dynamics in one way or other, we are the other spheres are all the other spheres in one way or other in this form to make the dynamics of energy and matter. That's the biosphere itself, humans and plants, the geosphere, hydrosphere, atmosphere, and utmost again, and last but not the least, the biosphere. Okay. So up next we will discuss how these sphere by sphere these are in the process and in the dynamics, and gives part to effect the other spheres are being affected from the other spheres. If you see the rock cycle, I have mentioned in that very graphics, some minerals, if we see in that very solid part, are in stable form. How other, in contrast, are dynamics, how they are being changed are in dynamics. They are dynamic because of the physical-chemical properties, that the weathering or on the temperature, pressure. So there are processes that making them in dynamics, that mineral part or the solid part of that earth. So this process is called actually the rock cycle, and many phenomena, many processes are beyond the dynamic of that rock cycle to maintain it in other, but actually it take many years to form the cycle in that chain. Sometime in one rock form or other form it may take the billion of years. However, for the stable mineral it can last for a billion of years, but it also will recycle in one way or other. It from one process or other, that can be temperature, pressure, or other physical processes. So how here I can evaluate that if there are some sedimentary or metamorphic rocks on that very geosphere, from the weathering or erosion process they can erode to the sediments, and these sediments can form sedimentary rocks if they compact and then cement each other and accumulate. However, if they go towards the metamorphosis, the processes of heat and pressure, they can form the metamorphic process and again can come to the that very area or some area of that solid part to make the sediments parts again or the metamorphic part again. However, if they go down to the mantle part, that's the below the lithosphere or the very rocky part of the crust, below the crust of the mantle part, then they can form towards the magma that is very heated and pressurized. They can go to the surface and after cooling become the igneous rocks. And the same if they come to the hot surface, after the weathering erosion they can form sedimentary rocks. So that cycle that are making that dynamics of the minerals and other kinds of solids part of that earth geosphere crust, these are interacting with the water atmosphere, because the water making part in the solidification of that minerals and rocks, and also from the atmosphere is taking part because of taking its climate or its heat or the temperature to maintain its status in one form or other. And that's because the heat and pressure that's causing the physical process or physical chemical process to make it change in one form and another. So up next we are going towards hydrosphere. That's also the very important part of our earth system. If we see here water in, like in lake becoming groundwater, this example, it can always be elaborated, can also be taken as a part of examples we are exemplify the interactions. So if water in that lake becoming the groundwater that go to the geosphere itself, and sometime if from that in some part of it, if it operate into the air, that's become the atmosphere. In this form, if the atmosphere you see, these are interacting, these are in the relation with the all the three spheres at that part. If we in that part plants, if you use it for to plants biosphere to flow and then to the water the area, draw water and that's the atmosphere from for plants. And even if you use the fresh water for our own drinking purpose, that's the same time biosphere and atmosphere are interacting, and nutrients from the side phase and release water vapor into the surrounding atmosphere. That's the phase that's making the interactions of the four or three spheres at that part. However, humans harness energy from the water actually, like the biosphere I have said. Here we can use it for the electric purpose, not only for the drinking or for the watering purpose, but also for the other purposes. In that part, the two spheres are in the very common and very important phase of dynamic and interaction or relation. By speaking turbines or other kind of activities, we can also use for the electricity, as I mentioned, and other kind of processes. So in that part, if you see, like the ionosphere itself is in the process in direction and also in dynamic with the four sphere itself, and also in this cycle to again come to the atmosphere or its own form of a hydrosphere. Atmospheric based interactions, that is forming the energy and Earth's climate cycle. If you see the atmospheric based interactions, that's the very key part, key sphere of the very Earth system or global Earth system, because the atmospheric interactions are relation effects are on the energy and Earth climate recycling and dynamic. In that part, as I have mentioned, the basis of that very cycles and global system is on the basis of energy and matter. So in that part, for energy purpose, sun is the main source of energy. Is the there are many factors, but there are many factors. If the hot sun year is coming towards that to very geosphere, biosphere, and also the atmosphere itself, so it passes from that very atmosphere. That is the composition of the gases. Many factors are here that are playing key role. That will play key role in that dynamic of the energy towards that matter recycling or matter dynamics. What can be what are these factors? That can the distance covered by the radiations. If the distance is covering, like if you see the equatorial region, the distance or angle will be the that part, and it will falls little more other than that polar areas of the earth. However, the angle also has a main role, the angle with which solar radiation reaches the earth's surface. Like if it is in the form of that implied form, not on that polar areas, then it has a role to pass through the little surfaces or the implied part, and then it will be a more as compared to the polar areas. Composition of the atmosphere is also a main role here. If we see if the rays come in here are reflecting from the earth's surface, that or the troposphere or the atmosphere, that first sphere of the atmosphere, then it will reflect back or bounce back. So it is part in the energy or the energy source and the matter source of dynamics on that part. The interaction of solar radiation with gases, obviously that atmospheric part is also a major role, because if the sun radiations are being interrupted, are being handled by these gases, this composition of that very atmospheric part, then it can come easily to that very part to be observed and then reflected back. So that part also has the main role, especially the gases forming near the earth's surface. It does forming atmosphere. If the some radiation is observed, obviously in the longer form these go upward, it will be automatically recycled and forming the heat energy budget, and utmostly the energy cycling will cause as a energy budget, and also it will form the earth climate of the pressure and temperature. Up next and phase, the last but not least phase, and that's the biosphere or the living beings interactions. Mostly here I have mentioned it is the humans in ecosystem. Why I have mentioned here the humans? Because humans have the key a lead role that is surpassing other organisms in their ability to influence the ecosystem to all or global system of that biosphere the most. Why? How this? Because of their interactions and the progenic actions around us. If we see, there are many examples to mention that at that point, if we are interacting with the all sphere and we are affecting all spheres, and we are being affected from the all spheres in one way or other, at the same time we are affecting these and we are using and making these dynamics of that very global earth systems. The degradation of the biosphere obviously will bring the existence of individuals to a challenging art and end phase. How, if we are using these biosphere level that's in the plants or other kind of living things, that is the role to interact or affect the other sphere. Like if you are using water, the I have mentioned, and we are not using it sustainably, obviously it will degrade or it will disturb the water hydrosphere cycle. And if we are using the minerals part of the geosphere part, ultimately it will also be challenged, it will also be degraded. And if we are polluting that atmosphere, obviously it will have repercussions for us. So in that part, if we see the three or four sphere majorly are being interacted, are being affected by us, and we are interacted and we affected by these four sphere. So in that part, if we go for sustainable phase, then obviously it will not be a challenging part, but will be in a green or a better attracting part of that our spheres and our effect on that spheres. So that was about our lecture.